What is going Oh, hey, what is going on, everyone? We are live. Welcome to Saturday Night Live, SB Fantasy Football Podcast with your pal Alan. And here we are. Got here. Was actually going to try and get on a little bit earlier tonight, but also got Tigers baseball going on right now. Big Tigers fan, Detroit guy. So I've kind of little distracted a little bit tonight. Just trying to keep an eye on this game that's going to it's in the top of the 10th right now, but we're here to talk fantasy football, guys. Answer all your start, sit questions, just everything. Let's get all these questions answered. First things first, let's get this out of the way. 8:30 game tomorrow. Make sure you get your lineup set tonight before you go to bed. 2 Falcons, Bears, Packers, Steelers, all on a bye this week. So we got 4 teams on a bye this week. So just make sure that we're adjusting our lineups accordingly, getting ready for those bye weeks so that we don't got the wrong guys in there, right? We don't want to have the wrong guys in there. We want to make sure we got the right guys in there. We don't got anybody on a bye week in our lineup. We get them all out. Plus, we got Jane Daniels is back this week, which is great news for anybody who owns any stock in the Commanders. I think that helps Zach Ertz. It's going to help Scary Terry. It's going to help Debo Samuel. It's going to help. Hopefully, helps Bill. Right? JCM gets going. Or, at some point in time, he's got to start getting going. You've got Bucky Irving is out. So Rashid White looks like he's a guy you need to make sure you have in your lineups now. With all the injuries at running backs, right? We've got several guys that we want to try and work in there. Isaiah Bond, I think, is a guy that we need to get going this week, as he's now a starting wide receiver there with Cleveland, and Dylan Gabriel's getting the start this week, right? You've got Wan'Dale Robinson, I think is worth a look, as well as maybe a Darius Slayton, right? Jackson Dart looked pretty good last week. Look for that trend to continue because I think he's got a better matchup this week with the Saints. So I actually like the Giants this week with them playing the Saints, but I also kind of like the Saints, right? Taysom Hill they activated him and he's supposed to play this week. So what kind of crazy S are we going to get out of Taysom Hill this week, guys? I don't know. Nobody knows. But we'll see. Taysom Hill is boomer bust, right? Um, I I kind of like Darren Waller this week. I thought he looked pretty good last week. With no Tyreek Hill, someone's got to start catching the ball there. Wan'Dale Robinson stock definitely goes up, and I think Darren Waller's stock goes up as well. He had that TD last week. It looks like Brock Bowers isn't going to play, so that definitely is. We've got to find someone to play in place. I think Darren Waller is a guy that you can go ahead and plug and play into your lineup this week, and you're going to be. I think you'll be all right with him in there. Man, I mean, there's just so many things, right? Hold on a second. Let me just get this set up real quick, guys. And as always, any start sit questions that you guys have, let us know. Let me know. I'm here for you guys. Let's answer your questions. Until we do that, let's take a look at, we had Mac Jones looked great this last week. Not only him, but Kendrick Bourne out of nowhere. Brock Purdy, take your time because Mac Jones has looked great. So Kyle Shanahan, QB whisper. I kind of said that. As we were when Brock goes down and Mac is going in, it's like, okay, is he really that guy? Is Kyle Shanahan really the guy, the QB whisperer? Is he going to get something out of Mac Jones? And they're 3-0 with him now, right? So, and he's looked great. He had a big week this last week, and I would kind of expect the trend to continue, especially as more of those guys get healthy around there. Because right now, let's be honest, everybody's hurt, everybody's banged up. There's nobody there, right? There's no Tricky Ricky. He's out. Juwan Johnson's out. George Kittle's out. I mean, CMC's been. I never would have guessed that CMC was the guy to be healthy. If you told me everybody on the 49ers is going to be hurt but one guy, I would have named everybody on that roster before I got to CMC. Literally everybody on that roster before I got to CMC, but he's healthy. You have, let's see here. Let me just pull this up real quick. The box score going. I mean, Mac Jones 342, 2 touchdowns. Matt Stafford, great again, 389 yards, 3 touchdowns. CMC, it's 8 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown. Not so much the 22 carries for 57 yards. It's the receiving. Kyren Williams, 14 for 65. He did have the 2 touchdowns in the air, though. 8 catches for 66 yards, 2 TDs. Puka, I mean, just 10 for 85 and a touchdown. Kendrick Bourne, 10 for 142 and the touchdown there. So it's just, man, Jake Tongas, 7 for 41 and a touchdown. Demarcus Robinson was a guy I thought might have done something, but he only 3 for 39, right? Devontae 5 for 88. So we had a lot of guys that have some pretty good games this last week on Thursday Night Football, which Thursday night's typically a day I just kind of want to stay away from things just because it's just always so weird. There's just always so much there that you're like, what is going on here? We'll start looking at some matchups this week going down until we start to get some of your guys' questions in here. But we'll start with Minnesota at Cleveland. That's your 8:30 game. We're going to keep our eyes on Dylan Gabriel. Of course, we're not playing Gabriel yet, right? Unless we kind of have to. If you're in a super flex and with 4 teams on a bye, depending on how many teams in your league, Dylan Gabriel might garner a start. Kind of a spot start with the bye weeks, going through. But I think he'll be okay. That Vikings defense is all right. They're not spectacular. They've been pretty good. Kind of look for them to kind of continue. I think Carson Wentz will be all right. I think they'll be okay there. They looked a little rough the beginning of the week last week, but they've been over there, right? They've been, because they were the game in Ireland last week, and then they stayed over there for this game here. It's at Tottenham, there in England, jolly old England. So a little bit more accustomed to the area. Expect maybe a pretty big game out of those guys out there. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison looked good in his first week back. Jordan Mason, I look for him to have a big week this week. Hopefully TJ Hawkinson can kind of rebound off of a tough week last week and get that train rolling again. With Cleveland, you got Isaiah Bond. I like him. I like Quinshon Judkins. Let's see what Dylan Gabriel does, right? He's they kind of took their time with him a little bit. Let Flacco do things, and they're like, okay, let's get you in there now. And then just in case you're curious, Flacco's the backup. So if anything happens to Gabriel, Flacco's going to be the one that's supposed to be going in. He's listed as the number 2 QB there right now. But Vegas and Indy, we talked about a little while ago. Brock Bowers is going to be out. That definitely hurts Vegas. Ashton Jeanty decided to play football last week. Finally, we've been waiting for his big breakout week. We finally got it last week. So hopefully he can kind of keep that going. But I mean, the Colts are good. Like Danny Dimes, still last week in the loss looked good. Michael Pittman is a guy that I hold on. Let me double check Pittman because I thought there might have been some injury issues there with him. Trying to keep nope. It looks like he's good to go. He's fully healthy. Yeah, he was limited with a hamstring issue, but he was able to get a full workload. no injury designation. So, and I mean, he's looked good. He's looked really good this year. He's got 21 catches for 234 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he's getting a TD a week, except for week 2 against Denver, which is a tough matchup, right? But he's getting you anywhere between 4 to 6 catches a week, 40 to 80 yards, and a TD. You can't ask for much more. But he's looked really good. Jonathan Taylor has looked just great so far this year. Like we were talking about it last week. Is Jonathan Taylor your 1-1? He might be, him or Puka, if you went ahead and redrafted right now. But I mean, just a little bit of a tougher matchup. Vegas gives up the 27th most points. 2 running backs, but he's looked really good. He's got 4 touchdowns on the season, 3 rushing, 1 receiving. He's getting you a couple catches, a few yards. Excuse me, guys. 71 yards rushing week 1, 165 week 2, 102, and then 76 yards rushing last week against the Rams, which is the number 1 run defense. They give up the least amount of points in the league to running backs. So kind of like that matchup. The Giants and the Saints matchup, I actually kind of expect this to be a high-scoring affair. You got 2 defenses that aren't really that great. 2 teams that really aren't that great. Jackson Dart came in last week and played really good. Malik Neighbors is down. He's out for the year, the ACL. So that that definitely sucks to not having Malik Neighbors. But I think Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton can go ahead and benefit off of that. As well as, Scadaboo's looked pretty good so far. We got Tyrone Tracy's going to be out for another 2 to 3 weeks, dealing with his injuries. So you're seeing a lot of the younger guys really get the chance there. And then over there on the Saints side, I mean, Rattler's been okay. He's been putting up a ton of yards, not a ton of TDs, but you've got him. I think Kamara should have poised to have a pretty good game against the Giants. Juwan Johnson should have himself another good game. I think he's been pretty good so far this year. Again, a lot of catches, and you're hoping for that TD, but it'll probably get you somewhere in the area of 5 to 8 catches, I would say. And somewhere, I'm not expecting a ton of yards, 50, 60 yards. Out of him. You've got the Cowboys at the Jets. I don't know what to expect out of this game. I expect George Pickens to have a good game. I expect Dak to have a good game. Javonte Williams should be okay. The Jets side of things, I mean, Garrett Wilson's been looking pretty good this year. And you've got Justin Fields. I think he should be able to do something against that Dallas defense. Whether it's, he is pretty good at throwing the long ball. So look for him and Garrett Wilson maybe to connect on a long ball or 2. Look for Justin Fields to get decent amount rushing this week, and just kind of, I don't know. That Dallas defense is just really, really bad. The offense puts up the most yards per game in the league, right? Over 400 yards a game right now, and that's tops in the NFL. I think it's like 404. So they're going to put up a ton of yards. Is that going to translate to points? We'll see. The Jets just haven't been that good this year. But this is also kind of one of those games where you can see the Cowboys playing down to the competition like they kind of have in the past. And when they have a matchup kind of like this, you get crap. But I expect them to produce. They should. Denver and Philly, that should be a hell of a game. Look for your running backs to have good games. It's Saquon, of course. Trouble in paradise there in Philly. AJ Brown's not too happy. He's also not getting a lot of work. Not getting a lot of balls thrown his way. But I kind of expect, I don't know that I expected the decline to be like this year. I did know that, hey, they are a running team. Saquon's going to get his. But outside of that, I didn't think it'd be as bad as it is. You got games where Hurts isn't even throwing for 100 yards. That's not good. You gotta, in order to be successful with the run, you do have to set up the pass. I think this Denver team is pretty tough. Still going to take the Eagles to win the game, I think. But look for Bo Nix to have a pretty decent game this week. Nix and Sutton have looked great connecting. Um, maybe Evan Ingram has himself a pretty good game. I don't think Dallas is too great against the tight ends. Let's take a look here. Not Dallas, Philly. I'm sorry. Well, they are 30th. They give up the 30th amount of points, so they actually are pretty tough against the tight ends. He had 4 catches on 7 targets for 29 yards last week. It's not much. Yeah. Bo Nix, Cam Sutton, or Cortland Sutton, not Cam Sutton. What are we talking about here? J.K. Dobbins has looked good to start the year off, so hopefully he can continue that trend. Miami and Carolina. Miami's underperforming this year. I guess you could make the argument that Carolina's underperforming this year if you expected kind of what you had at the end of the year last year with Carolina, where Bryce Young actually looked pretty good and he's looked bad. Chuba Hubbard's not playing this week. Rico Dowdle gets to start at RB this week, but Miami's defense hasn't been awful. I'm not expecting a ton out of Rico this week, but that's also just has to do with it's just a bad team. T Mac's not going to get you much. Miami's got to do something. They got to figure something out. Outside of Devin Achane, it's been pretty meh. They got to get Waddle going this week. You need Darren Waller to step up. Maybe a Malik Washington has himself a pretty good game this week with the absence of Tyreek. Maybe they start to play better without Tyreek. There was a lot of, locker room issues with him. Ever since the end of last year, demanding the trade and all that. So we'll see. All the news that you're hearing right now is they expect Miami to release Tyreek at the end of the season. Which, yeah, I mean, I don't know if he picks up anywhere. I mean, he'll probably pick up somewhere, but what are we going to get out of him? His knee was completely demolished. He's a speedster. It's typically, yeah, he can get back next year, but it's typically 2 years before you're back. Tua's got to step up and play better. This is the game to do it. If Miami's going to try and salvage this year at all, they have to do something tomorrow in Carolina. Houston and Baltimore. CJ Stroud just hasn't been good this year. He hasn't been good since his rookie year. Let's just be honest. You need him to do something, but they also need the run game to do something. Like the run game has just been non-existent. Nick Chubb just isn't. He's not the same. Which, he's gone through 2 horrific knee injuries. Why would we expect him to be all right? Woody Marks is supposed to be the guy that stepped up. He hasn't as of yet. CJ Stroud hasn't been that great. We had the hot start last year, him and Nico Collins. Well, they've been kind of mediocre since then. So they really need to step things up, get the ball rolling, get things going. Tigers just take the lead in the top of the 11. Sorry, guys. Like I said, I am distracted watching the Tigers game. There we go. 3-2, top of the 11th. Man, all right. But yeah, what game was I talking about? Sorry, guys, got distracted there. Baltimore, yeah. Cooper Rush is shown to be not worthless as a backup. He's shown to be capable. But that has also been in the Dallas system that he was in forever, that he really knew. CeeDee Lamb as a receiver, right? He doesn't have a CeeDee Lamb with Baltimore. They just don't have a CeeDee Lamb. You got Zay Flowers, Bateman, Mark Andrews. Derrick Henry rushing the ball. The D Hop's out there, right? But nothing. It's still not the same. I don't know. Derrick Henry's got to have a big game. They need him to be able to run the ball in order for them to have any success to try and salvage this season as they're sitting at 1-3. But Houston's just not a good team. So and Baltimore's at home. They really need to take care of business. And hopefully Lamar's not out for a long time. That's all we got to say about that. Tennessee and Arizona. Arizona lost James Conner 2 weeks ago and then lose Trey Benson last week. DeMarcado, I like him. I know a lot of people are saying, Michael Carter, but he was just on the practice squad and then just elevated. He hasn't had a meaningful carry in a couple years. I don't know. I tend to lean more towards DeMarcado than I do Carter. We'll see. Kyler's he's got to step it up. And Marvin Harrison Jr., for the love of God, just stop being worthless. Ravi, how's it going? What 2 wide receivers to start in PPR? Jameson Williams, Michael Pittman, Chris Godwin, and Wan'Dale. Wan'Dale, who I don't are you talking about Waddle? Are we talking about Wan'Dale Robinson? I don't know Wan'Dale. Should I know Wan'Dale? Yeah, I don't know. There's no Wan'Dale. So I'm assuming that's the type. Okay, Wan'Dale Robinson. Okay. I like Pittman. I really do like Pittman. Colts playing Vegas. Vegas isn't really great. Um I like JMO against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's defense is just awful. So expect him to do something. The issue with JMO is you're not going to get a ton of receptions out of him. You're going to get 2 to 3, but he's probably going to have 1 or 2 of those is going to be over 30 yards, right? If you're lucky, it's going to be 40 plus yards if you get extra points for that, as well as a touchdown. But I like the matchup against the Bengals defense. Chris Godwin, he's got to do something, right? They need him to step up because not only are you down Mike Evans, but you're also down Bucky Irving. Seattle is pretty tough. Chris, he had 3 catches for 26 yards last week. I do really like Wan'Dale Robinson. He's got to be a guy that steps up with Malik Neighbors being out. I like the matchup against the Saints for sure. Let me look at something real quick. Robinson, Wan'Dale. There we go. He's been all right. The last 2 weeks a little rougher. 3 catches last week for 14 yards, 1 for 26 the week before that. The Saints give up the 10th most amount of points, 2 wide receivers. You're hoping he really steps it up and has a big game. I think your safe bet. We're going Pittman for sure. And then I like both of the matchups that JMO has and that Wan'Dale has. How were the Bengals against wide receivers this year? Let me just double check that. The Bengals they give up the 8th most amount of points. You've gotten 2 catches a week out of JMO the last 3 weeks. One of those weeks he caught 2 for 108 in a TD, 2 for 43, 2 for 40. They are going to continue to try and get him the ball 100%. Really good matchup. Pittman, and my heart says JMO, my head says Wan'Dale. How about that? I think you'll be okay with either one of them. I think with JMO, I think you got higher ceiling with JMO than you do with Wan'Dale Robinson. I think Wan'Dale Robinson will be a steady 5-6 catches, 60, 70 yards, hopefully a touchdown. Again, J-Mo, you're hoping for like you had a week in week 2 where he had 2 catches for 108 yards and a touchdown, right? Big week, not a lot of catches, but big plays. Really good matchup against the Bengals. So you can go either one. I think J-Mo's going to have the higher ceiling than Wan'Dale does. But I think Wan'Dale's floor is higher. J-Mo's floor is low. Wan'Dale's floor is higher. Wan'Dale's going to be the safer pick. J-Mo's going to be the boom pick. And you're hoping he hits. Godwin, you need him to step up, but he's coming off of that injury. Emeka Egbuka's looked great so far. Baker's dealing with some injuries, although he's going to be fine. Rashid White in the lineup, I think that opens them up to pass the ball a little bit more to the running back this week, which definitely benefits if you have Rashid White. But Godwin is a speed guy, and he just doesn't have the speed right now. All right. So we'll go Pittman. Wan'Dale's the safe pick. J-Mo's the boom pick. Hope that answers your question, Ravi. Let me know if you got any others. Let's see here. We were just getting ready. You know what? Tampa and Seattle's the next game up. Sam Darnold's been okay. He hasn't been awful. JSN's looked great so far this year. I definitely want to play JSN. Kenneth Walker was on his way down, and he's kind of rebounded some. We really expected Charbonnet to kind of take over that backfield by now. He has not. Cooper Kupp has just been just a guy. Like, he's been there. He'll get you a yard or two here or there, but nothing to write home about. Tampa, again, I just absolutely love Baker. I think Baker is a top 5 quarterback in the league, especially if we're talking fantasy, right? If you're talking fantasy, I almost put him up in really close to a top 3 quarterback. It doesn't seem to matter who they put there for receiver-wise. Yes, having Mike Evans not there definitely hurts him, but Egbuka's looked really good and has really stepped up and filled that role. Look for him to continue that. Baker's going to sling the ball. That's just all there is to it. That's what Baker does. Baker's going to do what Baker does and sling the ball all over the place. I'm still playing Baker. Detroit and Cincinnati, I like every part of the Detroit offense in this game. That Cincinnati defense is just awful. I think you really have to ask the question this week, do we bench Ja'Marr Chase? I think that Detroit defense is decent. Jake Browning's looked awful. Yeah. Thanks, Pittman and J-Mo it is. Defense-wise, Jacksonville or Colts? Tight end, Strange or Fanning? Okay. It's tough with Fanning because we've got a brand new quarterback, right? Strange, I like Strange. He's a guy that I had in my top 10 at the beginning of the year, and he's disappointed to date. Hold on, I'm just trying to pull this up real quick. STRAN. Kansas City is tough against tight ends. They gave up the 29th most points. Strange has started to come into his own the last 2 weeks. 6 catches both weeks. 6 for 61, 6 for 45. Still off to a little bit of a rougher start, but I do expect him to pick it up. Fannin, what has he done here lately? Minnesota is that early morning game. It is tough. Minnesota gives up the 22nd most points. He's just been kind of 2, 3. Yeah, I think Strange is the better play there for sure. I like Strange. I don't know if I like Jacksonville against Kansas City. I do like Indy against Vegas, especially with Vegas without Brock Bowers. That definitely hurts the offense there in Vegas for sure. The Colts defense has looked good so far this year. Look for that trend to kind of continue. While I'm not like high on um, Kansas City, I think Kansas City can put up some points. Tigers take game 1, 3-2, final in 11 innings. There we go. Um, I can go ahead and turn that TV off now and not be distracted by that. Um, but yeah, I like the Colts defense. I think they've had a great year so far this year. Look for them to continue that trend. I like the matchup against Vegas. Geno Smith has looked kind of no Brock Bowers this week. Genty did have a good week last week, but can he keep that trend continuing? Um, Jacksonville it's tough because Kansas City looked pretty decent last week. Jacksonville defense has looked okay year to date so far. Um, so I want to go Colts and I want to go Brenton Strange is who I like there. I just like Brenton Strange. I saw a lot of good out of him last year, especially when Evan Ingram was out. Um, Now he's not catching anybody's surprise this year, kind of like he did last year. I feel like he caught some teams off guard last year. Teams will game plan for him now, I think. And Fannin is just, I don't know. It's tough. He hasn't looked great the last couple weeks. And you've got Dylan Gabriel in there at QB. Overseas game. They traveled. Sometimes those teams fall flat. Yeah. But I like Strange and I like the Colts. Let me know if you got anything else, Ravi. Here for you, brother. Um, let's see here. What game are we on? Detroit. Like I said, I like everything about the Detroit offense this week. I think we got to start asking the question: Do we bench Jamar Chase? I don't know. I mean, you want to say no, it's Jamar Chase, and he's still one of the best wide receivers in the league, but Jake Browning is just awful, and that offensive line is awful. Like that offensive line's always been awful, but Burrow was able to maneuver, get through it, right? Um, to the tune of he gets hurt every other year, but still, and spends the majority game on his back, which isn't what you want for your quarterback. But Jake Browning just doesn't have those intangibles. Um, it's been heavy sledding. Um, Chase Brown has just been awful this year because again, no Joe Burrow, offensive line just needs so much help. It's been a tough year for them. Also have Schultz on my bench. Should I consider him? Uh Houston's just been so bad. Let's look. Baltimore does give up a lot. They give up the 10th most points. But I mean, you're looking at 3 for 28, 3 for 29, 5 for 39, 5 for 30. I don't know that you can. CJ Stroud, since CJ Stroud's decline started the last couple of years, Schultz has just been kind of. I still think I go with Brenton Strange. I still like Strange more. Yeah, Schultz has just been. And yeah, Baltimore gives up a lot of points to the tight ends, but I just don't. I hadn't seen anything out of CJ Stroud that really excites me this year, or this whole second half of the season last year. To be honest with you, he hasn't been that good. It's been all downhill since his rookie year. His rookie year, he was really good, and since then he has been really not good at football. Um, so yeah, I'm still gonna go with Brenton Strange in that. I just think there's a lot more potential there. Um, Dalton Schultz has just been, but that's just the way the whole Houston offense has been, and I think part of that has to do with they just don't really have a run game. And they need to get that run game going in order for CJ to have some success. And until they can get that run game going, CJ's not going to have any success, and it's going to be tough to play anyone else on that offense. I mean, yeah, you're still going to play Nico Collins, but we're not getting Nico that we got at the beginning of the year last year before his injury, right? He looked poised to become, a top 5 wide receiver in the league, especially in fantasy. And since coming back from the injury, he just hasn't been. I don't even know that it's necessarily him that's been the same. It's just CJ Stroud hasn't been that good. So, yeah, that's where I'm going to fall on that. Washington and LA. Jane Daniels is back. Thank God. Because we need him. If you have any part of that Washington offense, now Scary Terry is out, quad injury. He's been ruled out for Sunday's game, so that does nothing. But I think that helps out. So let's just double check and make sure I'm not missing anything else. Debo, yeah, Debo should. I mean, I'm a full bore on Debo. He's had a good year so far this year. The last couple of weeks have been okay. Last week he had 6 for 72 and a touchdown, but the week for that, 2 for 11. But in the first 2 weeks with Jaden there, 7 for 77, 7 for 44, touchdown in both those weeks, 1 rushing, 1 not passing, 1 receiving. So I definitely like Debo Samuel. Hopefully Jaden in there helps open things up for JCM to finally start doing something. But who knows with that. I do hope that Zach Ertz. I do like Zach Ertz. First 2 weeks touchdowns looked good with Jane Daniels there. What's up, Duncan? How you doing, brother? So I think Zach Ertz is a play this week. Barring I missed an injury on him, but I don't think that I did. I think Ertz is healthy. Let me just double check that real quick. Yeah, no, he's healthy. I mean, in the first 2 weeks, touchdown in both of those weeks. The last 2 weeks, 2 for 21, 3 for 38. Week 1, it was 3 for 26, but it was also a touchdown in there, right? Week 2 against Green Bay, 6 for 64 and a touchdown. I think Zach Ertz is definitely someone to consider playing. If you have him, if you're trying to fill in for bye weeks. I think I still do like Brenton Strange more than I do. In case you're going to ask Ravi, I think I'm still going to lean Brenton Strange over Zach Ertz. Close though. I'm doing pretty good, man. Doing good. Can't complain. Tigers just got the W. Just took down Seattle in game 1 in 11 innings. I think it was final in 11, 3-2. Super excited about that. Kiddo had a great day at the ball fields. We're 2 games away from the championship this weekend. So hopefully we go out tomorrow morning and get a couple dubs and find ourselves in the championship for the second weekend in a straight. That'd be nice. But yeah, you got nothing to worry about this week, Duncan. Your Packers are on a bye, so you can't lose. So you got that going for you. Last couple weeks have been a little rough for you guys. We'll see if you guys can rebound after the bye week. I don't know. We'll see. Los Angeles, Omarion Hampton's got to start doing something. He's got to start doing something, or else Harbaugh's going to replace him. Like, that's just all there's to it. Najee's not there anymore. No excuses. You got to run the ball. Quentin Johnston, it's crazy to say it. This has been having a great season so far this year. Ladd McConkey's been okay. Keenan Allen is looking really good. Hopefully he can keep that trend up. Justin Herbert's looked awesome. I'm a big Justin Herbert guy. Glad to see him starting being a little successful. Now, can we do it for the whole season? Can we do it in the playoffs? We'll see. But as of right now, Justin Herbert's a must play. Quentin Johnston's a must play until otherwise. He's started catching the ball and not dropping everything thrown his way. So I know Justin Herbert's excited about that. And Glad McConkey's had a rough last couple of weeks, but he's got to start turning it around. I think Ladd still is. I would still consider Ladd the number one wide receiver there. He's just had a rough couple weeks. How about that? But yeah, and then like I said, Omarion Hampton's got to start doing something. Next up, New England at Buffalo. I mean, I like Buffalo. New England's been all right. Drake May's been okay. We got to figure out something in that running back room there. It's been expect Travion to take over, but he just hasn't yet. And Ramondre just hasn't let go, but neither one's really done great things for you. So at some point in time, I think someone's got to end up taking over that backfield. And if I'm going to have to choose sides, I'm going to go Travion Henderson, the younger guy, more dynamic, more explosive, should be the guy. I love everything about Buffalo. What can I say? James Cook, great. Josh Allen, Keenan Coleman, Khalil Shakir has looked good so far this year. If you're looking for a tight end, Dawson Knox could be a good guy this week against the Patriots. Patriots are looking to win back-to-back games for the first time in forever. We'll see if they can do that. But Buffalo's also 4-0, and they're looking to go 5-0. And that takes us to our Monday night game, Kansas City and Jacksonville. In Jacksonville, Xavier Worthy looked. It looked like they definitely needed Xavier Worthy back, and they had him back this last week, right? Mahomes looked better. Kelsey's still Kelsey, you know. And when I say Kelsey, I'm talking about the Kelsey now, the last few years, versus in the past. Boomer bust. Boomer bust. TD dependent. But he just hasn't looked good. He just needs to retire, I think. I think he's just got so many outside distractions going on, and he talked about it going into the season that all the outside distractions were distracting him from football and focusing on football. And he's supposed to be good this year, but he hasn't been. He just hasn't. I think it's just time, and that's the crazy thing about football is when you're done, you're done. Like when the game is passed you by, you're just done. And I think it's passing by. Trade Waddle for K9 PPR. What's the rest of your? I gotta know what the rest of the running back room looks like, or I guess your receiver room, because you're gonna trade Waddle for K9. I gotta know what the rest of the receiver room looks like before I say yes, because I think Waddle is actually should be on his way up, right? Waddle should take over as the number one wide receiver there in Miami. Should start to take those targets that were going to Tyreek Hill. They need him to step up. They need him to do good. So I got to know what else we got before I say, yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of him for K9, right? Also, what are we looking at running back wise? Why are we looking to pick up K9? Running back, Hampton, CMC, Kamara, Mason. Why are we making a trade? Because I think you're fine running back wise. Why are we looking to add K9 to that already crowded running back room? I think CMC's been good this year. I think Hampton's going to be fine. Remember, we're only 4 weeks in, and he is a rookie. I think Jordan Mason's going to be pretty good. He's number one guy there now. Last week, I think is going to be a tougher week, right? First weekend overseas. Wide receivers, Keenan Allen, BTJ, Ibuka, Rome, Waddle, and Nico. I mean, that's an embarrassment of riches. Here's my thing. BTJ hasn't been good at all this year. right? Um, Keenan Allen, older, at some point in time could get injured, right? So you gotta have guys in place. You hope BTJ turns it around, but rookie last year, sophomore year this year, sometimes you see that slump. I really like Ibuka. Rome's looked really good so far this year. Um, and Nico's been okay, right? But I don't know. I don't know that I make a move right now. Um, I think I just kind of. I think if you make that trade, you're making a trade just to make a trade. I don't think that trade makes you any better. Um, I think that trade just kind of leaves you where you're at. But then, like I said, if something happens with Keenan Allen, if BTJ never figures it out, I do expect Waddle to step it up going forward, Chandler. So, I, to me, it almost kind of looks like making a trade to make a trade. I know Kamara hasn't been great, but I think he'll be okay as a bye week replacement guy, right? Um, and I like Mason going forward. I really do. I think he'll be okay. I think he'll have a good week this week. He is in England, but he was already overseas, right? He was already over there because they played in Ireland last week. So I think he'll be okay this week. Um, I expect Hampton to start doing better, and CMC, you just kind of if he stays healthy, he should be fine. It's all receiving with CMC though. Like rushing wise, he hasn't been the same, but receiving wise, he's been really good. So, but yeah, I don't see how that trade necessarily makes you better. I think it's just making a trade to make a trade. I don't trust Mason even when with dudes comes back from IR and Kamara's starting to lose snaps to Miller and could be dealt at deadline. He could be dealt, and maybe that helps him out. CMC is amazing, but just in case he does go down, gives me KP in case. Yeah, I mean, I hear you, but BTJ's looked bad, and Keenan Allen's old. And then if you get rid of Waddle, you're down to Mbuka, Rome, and Nico. And I just Houston, I talked about it a little while ago. Houston just hasn't done much for me this year. You know, um, CJ Stroud just hasn't looked good. Um, we haven't gotten, he had 4 catches for 79 yards last week. He's got 2 weeks where he's got 3. He's over 100 yards once this season. And there's some tough matchups coming up there. I mean, if you don't trust Mason, right? Um, I get it. Uh, I think Kamara is going to be. I think, especially if Kamara gets dealt, I think it goes to a situation that improves his status, right? Um, let me look at something else here. I mean, he's been all right, but Kenneth Walker's been okay. PPR does nothing for Kenneth Walker. 1 catch, 1 catch, 1 catch, 3 catches week 1, right? 19 for 81 yards rushing last week. The week before that, 38 yards rushing. He did have the 2 TDs. He was over 100 yards in week 2 and 20 yards in week 1. So how much do we trust him? Like, just hate leaving BTJ, Waddle, and Mbuka on the bench every week. I hear you, but can you really play BTJ right now until he figures some things out? Like, that's my thing with him is he's got you a whopping 30. I mean, in PPR in this league, I mean, 5 catches for 49 yards, 2 for 55, 4 for 49, 1 for 11. He's got 1 rushing touchdown this year. I don't know that I'm playing BTJ, right? If you're playing how many wide receivers are you playing? I mean, we're playing Ibuka and we're playing Rome. Rome's looked really good so far this year, right? So you're playing those 2. If you're playing 3, I think I'm playing Keenan Allen right now until that train kind of sales, right? Um, although I am keeping an eye on Waddle and possibly starting to play Waddle with Tyreek down. Uh, Waddle's got to step it up. That's all there is to it. Why is there a motion on my front door? Is it that stupid lizard? I have this lizard that keeps walking on my Ring doorbell for our front door. And it's really annoying because it'll typically do it about 6:30 in the morning every day. And that goes off and I look and it's always that damn lizard. Just walking on top of our freaking Ring doorbell. Really pisses me off. Can't tell if it's him right now though. I don't see him on top of the stupid thing. But yeah, I don't know, Chandler. Like, me personally, I don't know that trade makes you better. And I feel like it's making a trade to make a trade, especially with what you have. And again, I'm nervous about Keenan Allen. Um, he is older. I do at some point in time expect him to miss a few weeks, right? Um, BTJ's got to show me something because he's on my bench. I have him on my bench right now. I don't have him. I didn't get him in any of my leagues, but if I did, I he's on my bench, right? Um, I'm playing Ibuka. I'm playing Rome. Nico's been. I just think you right now until some of these other guys start to show you something. I think you need that depth wide receiver wise. And again, I am expecting Waddle to be better going forward. I also think some of what was hindering Waddle is I think there was some locker room issues with Tyreek Hill. I mean, obviously there was, right? He wasn't even voted a captain this last year for the first time on the Dolphins. And a lot of that has to stem from him saying, hey, I want to be traded after the season ended last year. He's like, oh, wait, no, I didn't really mean that, right? But you said it. You can't take it back. And I think not having Tyreek Hill there, I think that's going to make the Dolphins offense better. Addition by subtraction. Zay Flowers or Wan'Dale Robinson tomorrow, PPR. I want to go Wan'Dale Robinson. I like the matchup against the Saints. I like what we saw Jackson Dart last week. With Zay, it's just tough with Cooper Rush in there now. You don't know what's going to happen with Cooper Rush, honestly. This isn't the same offense that he ran out of Dallas that he was extremely familiar with because he was with that team forever. So he was really familiar with the offense. So every time he had to come in for Dak, he was all right. But they're also two completely different offenses. You know, that Baltimore offense revolves around the run game. The Dallas offense always revolved around the passing game. So I am nervous about Cooper Rush throwing the Zay Flowers. I feel good about Wan'Dale Robinson catching passes from Jackson Dart, especially with Malik out. Obviously, the Giants are better with Malik Neighbors in there, but I think Wan'Dale Robinson is someone who benefits from Malik Neighbors not being there. Now, I don't think Wan'Dale's going to light the world on fire. 6, 7 catches, 80, 90 yards, maybe a TD. So, and you're talking PPR, so he's getting you close to 15, 16, 17 points. I think that's kind of a floor for him. Versus Zay Flowers, I just feel like we just don't know. Like I like Wan'Dale better. I like the matchup against the Saints. I actually think that'll be a pretty high scoring affair. So I think they are going to sling the ball around a lot, especially with Jackson in there now. I think they feel really good about having Jackson Dart in there, just being able to sling it. But yeah, let me know if that works for you. Oh man, we got any other questions, guys? Let me know. I'm gonna be getting out of here in a few minutes. I'm getting ready. I'm gonna do my rapid fire pick winners for the NFL games before I get out of here. I got an early morning tomorrow. I got to be at the ball fields at 7 a.m. with the kiddo. We got a first bracket game tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So we got to be out there at 7, which means we're leaving here at 6, which means I'm waking up at 5. But reminder, Falcons, Bears, Packers, Steelers, all on buys this week. We do have the 8:30 a.m. game tomorrow morning with the Vikings and the Browns. Dylan Gabriel is in there starting his first game. I think it's a little tough to start the kid after the trip over there, right? But yeah, I do feel good about the spot where they're at. Jelly of the Month is in the house. Good evening. PPR need highest upside wide receiver. Malik Washington, Tolbert, or A.O. Manor. I think your highest upside is going to be Tolbert. I think your safest play, I think, will be Elick A Manor, A.O. Manor, however you say his name. And Malik's just a wild card. I want to say he starts to pick up some slack there. With Tyreek being out there, I expect Waddle to definitely have a better game. Big underdog, yeah. I think Jalen Tolbert is your most upside. I don't think the Jets are that good, but Dallas isn't that good too. Dallas has the most yards, averages most yards per game, 404 yards a game. So that ball's going to get slung around, and it's going to be Dak having to sling it around. I think Pickens has a tougher matchup. So probably have sauce on him. So Knicks or Darnold 4-point passing TD. Okay, let's take a look here. Knicks or Darnold. Seattle has Tampa, and the Broncos at Philly. Let me look at something real quick for you. Tampa gives up a decent amount of points. The QBs, the 10th most, to be specific. We ain't seen a ton out of Darnold. Philly is shown to give up a decent. They give up the 14th most. Nixon is close. I don't feel good about Michael Carter at all, Frizz. The guy just came off the practice squad. I actually like DeMarco Marcado better, even though I think they're saying, Carter's getting the start. I'm not a huge Chase Brown's definitely in my doghouse. Let me say that. I have a 20-point lead this league from Kyron. Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna go Knicks just barely, Jelly. Pretty close. We just haven't seen a ton out of Darnold. But we're always seeing TDs with Knicks, and Darnold's gone a few weeks without TDs, right? I want to say Chase Brown over Michael Carter. I just don't. It's a guy coming right off the practice squad, and all of a sudden now they're saying he's a starter. You too, Jelly. Have a great one, man. I know Chase Brown he's been awful. I'm not gonna lie. I had Chase Brown as my my wide receiver number 1 coming into the season. Joe Burrow going down definitely shot that right in the leg. We haven't gotten anything out of him really, and I do think that is a tough matchup against Detroit, to be honest with you. But they're going to have to put up some points to try and hang with them. And Detroit's been really good against the run, but I just don't. To me, Michael Carter is such an unknown commodity. Like, I don't. When's the last time that guy played a meaningful snap in the NFL? Here's a nice matchup against Tennessee. And Michael Carter's the one who proclaimed himself as a starting RB. Jonathan Gannon just said they're all going to have their roles. I don't feel good about Michael Carter. I don't know, man. I just don't. A guy that was on the practice squad, now all of a sudden he's going to be the leading running back there. How about would you start Malik Washington over Chase Brown and Carter? I'd start Malik over Carter for sure. Okay. He looked really good preseason. No Hill. Carolina gives up the second least amount of points to wide receivers. There's only one team better than them. How I know the matchup against Detroit is Detroit gives up the 26th least amount of points. Is it PPR, Frizz? Because I think Chase will definitely catch some passes, maybe break a play or two open. Would you do this trade PPR? Pickens and Mason for Tet. It will go through next week. My other running backs. Wait, you're giving up Pickens and Mason for Tet? No, I would not do that at all. At all. PPR, yeah, Frizz, let's go. I'm still going to go Chase Brown. I know he's been disappointing, but we know he's going to touch the ball. He's got the potential to break one open, although it will be tough. Miami hasn't looked good. I do feel like they got to get better, and if they're going to do it, it's got to start this week. It's close, it really is, but I'm still going to go Chase Brown. Yeah, I mean, if you Antonio, if you're the one trading Pickens and Mason for T Mac, I would not. I wouldn't at all. I think Pickens at the end of the year is going to be he'll be a higher rated wide receiver than T Mac is. Like, let's just be honest. The Panthers' offense is bad. It is. But Dallas's offense is they put up a ton of yards. And like for right now, for the foreseeable future, it's Pickens. High ankle sprains are tough to come back from. And I know it. I know I live out here in the Dallas area, and I know there was discussions about possibly putting CeeDee Lamb on the IR to miss at least 4 weeks. They haven't yet. There are still discussions going on about that. They have talked about that actively on sports radio down here. So, and I like Mason. I think Jordan Mason is good. I think Jordan Mason. I don't think he gives that backfield back to Jones when Jones gets back. And doing both of them for I wouldn't. I know. No. And let's just be honest. Hampton, we've expected more out of. I do expect him to step it up. Travion, he's got to take it over at some point in time. I love Bijan. Um, but yeah, I like Mason this week. Second week overseas, right? Last week a little bit rougher. Being the first week, but they stayed over there. So I think Mason has a pretty good week this week. Me personally. But yeah, no, I wouldn't trade Pickens and Mason for him. Yeah. If you're on that side. Now if you're on the side where you're giving up T Mac for Pickens and Mason, then yes. 100,000%. But if you're on the Pickens and Mason side giving them up, no, I wouldn't do 2 for 1 for T Mac. And it's a redraft. Like, mm-mm. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So, hope that helps. Anything else, guys? Before I go down wins, losses, talk about just my picks for the NFL games this week. Again, another reminder: Falcons, Bears, Packers, Steelers, all on buys this week. You've got the Vikings and the Browns, 8:30 in the morning. Get those lineups set tonight. But yeah, let's go through it. Give me the Vikings over Cleveland. Give me the Colts over the Raiders. Give me the Giants to get the dub against the Saints this week. I like Jackson Dart. Cowboys over the Jets. Give me Denver over Philly. Philly's got to lose at some point in time. Why not this week? Dolphins over the Panthers. I think the Ravens still find a way to beat the Texans. Cardinals over the Titans. Tampa over Seattle. Detroit over Cincinnati. Give me Washington. No, give me the Chargers over Washington. Buffalo over the Patriots. And let's go Kansas City over the Jags. I don't think Kansas City's back at all, but I think they'll beat the Jags. Need 2 out of 3 for a PPR game. I do like DeMarcado. Chubb and Sean Tucker. Whew. I like DeMarcado. Tucker's on a better offense. Splitting time. Let me look at something here. D'Amico's talking about Marks getting the ball more. Chubb just hasn't been good. Baltimore gives up a ton of rush yards. They give up the most rush yards. Let's go Chubb. I don't know how much work Tucker's gonna get. Give me DeMarcado and Chubb. Smokey Dowdle or Marks? Miami gives up the 7th most points. No Chuba. I think Rico gets the ball more there. Both my RBs are on a bye, so I had to rely on waivers this week. Hey, Tyler, we all been there, man. We've all been there. Dowdle or Marks? Let me go Rico because he's not split in the backfield. If I got a guy who's split in time versus a guy who it's his backfield, let me take the guy where it's his backfield. Even though, I mean, I don't like either offense, to be honest with you. I don't think Houston's offense is really great. And the Panthers' offense isn't really great, but Rico's not going to be split in time there with anybody. It's his backfield. With Chuba being out, there's nobody else there. So I'm going to take Rico just for the simple fact that it's his backfield, and he's going to get a majority of the carries. He'll get a majority of the touches. Expect him to catch some passes out of the backfield for sure. Marks is still split in time with Chubb. While they do want him to get the ball a little bit more, I'm just not excited about Houston's offense, but I'm not excited about either offense, to be honest with you. And Chubb still had a majority of the carries last week. Like, Chubb still out-carried Woody last week. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The other way around. Woody out-carried him. Okay. Hold on. For some reason, I thought I saw that differently. 17. Hold on a second, guys. 17 versus 13. Still split in time with somebody. Chubb hasn't looked good. Again, I do like Chubb more than I do Tucker because we know Chubb's going to get somewhere between 10 to 15 carries. We don't know what we're going to get with Tucker. Rashid White carried that backfield before. They're more of a passing team. You know what, Smokey? Let's go Marks. Why not? I think Chubb and Marks can both have a big game this week against Baltimore. See Detroit a couple weeks ago, right? Now, Houston's not Detroit, but Baltimore gives up the most points to running backs. So I think they can sustain both of those guys for sure. Chubb maybe vulture a TD. How about that? A little TD vulture action. But yeah, and let's go Marks. Even though he is splitting the backfield, better matchup. Yeah, it's close. It's close, Smokey, but yeah. I think Marks is going to have a higher ceiling potential. I think Dowdle will end up being a safer play. So, no problem, man. No problem. If we get any more questions, guys, I'm going to get out of here for the night. As always, there will be a short posted with any other last minute start sit questions. I will get to all of them as I can. Hopefully, I'm able to get to all of them. I will be out at the ball fields. Again, we play at 8 a.m. tomorrow. And then hopefully we win, and then they don't end up playing again until 12:30. So I have until then to just answer all the questions. So, but thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely appreciate it. Again, we will be back again Thursday evening around 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Start answering your start sit questions. A little preview for the Thursday night game. Talk about the guys that we like there. Talk about the week that was. Answer again any trade questions you have. Free agent acquisitions. What do we need to do? Figure things out. Thank you guys so much. As always, I'm Alan. I'll talk to you guys later. Deuces.